Hello, and welcome to Couch Time with Sonja. I'm Sonja Lowe, and I'm joined with my beautiful co-host, Delia Cortez. We invite you to join us on the couch. Our mission is to provide a trusted and invaluable source of information that is engaging, relevant, and entertaining, all while embracing you, equipping, and empowering the audience we serve, and that is you. Couch Time is simply a place where we communicate and connect on the couch. And today's topic is exactly about that, communication.
You know, communication plays a tremendous role in your life. This is how we share information, our experiences, and it develops relationships with others. We have a special guest today, and she is going to give us some of her views on this topic. We are so excited that you're here. Join us on the couch.
Communication doesn't sound so difficult, does it? Or maybe it is. KidsHealth.org lists the average child begins speaking anywhere between 18 and 24 months, with the first basic words being mama and dada as early as 6 months. One would think with all this practice that we get from being a baby to adulthood, communication should be easy, but not so.
You know, there are several elements to communication: verbal, nonverbal, body language, and the most important, listening. We are happy to introduce a special guest, Kim McQuitty, today, and she is going to give us some of her views and insight, experiences, and just life knowledge regarding communication.
Welcome, Ms. Kim. Hi, darling.
Hi, thank
So
you for having me.
glad to have you
Yes,
here.
that's awesome.
Well, we are on our love series, and today's show is actually on communication. And so because I know that you are the infamous author, your first book it really does tie in to communication. And so I'd love for you to tell our viewers your first book's title and tell us a little bit, why did you write that first book?
Okay, the first book is called Me, My Man, and His Music, My Life as a Musician's Wife. And I wrote that from the vantage point of the lack of communication I was having with God concerning the direction of my marriage. I went into my marriage with an expectation of what it's going to be. Usually when you get married, you have a form of an idea of what it's going to look like, an idealism of marriage. And my father was the one who stayed home. And my mom was the one who stayed home. My dad worked. He worked a job I'm from Michigan, so it was the plant jobs. You had a job up there. They worked for the plant, worked for Ford Motor Company for over 40 years. And when you're young, your parents tell you to marry a man with a good job.
So true.
So that's what I did. I married a man with a job. He was working as a bus driver for a city bus company at the time. Well, my expectation would be that I would have the marriage that my mom and dad had, that I would have the traditional mindset, my mom stayed home, I wanted to stay home. My dad worked, and, I figured, my husband would work this full-time job until he retired at age 40 years old. But he would say, I could never see myself being the head bus driver. This is not what I wanted to do. And he would say things, he would communicate little things throughout our courtship in the beginning stages of our marriages. I want to go on the road one day. I want to go on the road one day, and I want to play the drums professionally. Wow. I'm thinking, go on the road one day. I would hear that echoing in our little one-bedroom apartment back in the 80s. I'm thinking, going on the road one day, like as in driving to church, going to church, playing the drum, and coming back home, because I didn't understand what that looked like or what that meant.
Right.
Well, little did I know, 8 years into our marriage, he was given that opportunity to do that. And it shook my world. I'm thinking, this isn't what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for to be single and parenting alone and being married and by myself most of the time. So I kind of shut down. I wasn't supportive of the idea. I'm thinking, this isn't what I thought we were going to do. We were going to be, this is a team. We can't be a team where we're separated. So I fought the idea for like 4 years. 4 years, my husband traveled the world, and I was at home licking my wounds because I did not want to be the wife who stayed home I was at home with 2 kids by myself. I'm thinking, we're married, we're supposed to be together. But the lack of communication came in because I never sought God about what his idea was for my relationship, for my marriage. I wanted what my parents had. I saw what they had. I strived to be that. I studied to be a housewife, and I wanted to do that, but that's not the purpose that God had for my marriage. And marriage is about purpose. There is a purpose for everyone's marriage. It's not just about you not being by yourself or having a companion or not having to spend the holidays alone. Right. There is a purpose for your marriage. And my husband was a musician to his core when I married him. He was just more than just a man. He was a visionary that had plans and purpose and goals for his life. And God brought us together for me to help him to reach those goals, visions, and goals and things. So 8 years into our marriage, he goes out. He's having the opportunity to travel the world. And I'm at home with, 2 children. I felt like at that time I was at home full time, but his dream presented itself and my dream presented itself. And there's a choice that somebody's dream is going to take precedent over the other. And I needed the security that I needed back at the time. My daughters at the time were age 1 and 3 years old. I needed security. I needed to know if they fell and broke a limb, we can go to the doctor and get it fixed without, having to pay a mortgage payment on a medical bill. So I went back to work, but there was something in me that was always brewing about my experiences, and I knew God was using me and preparing me and pruning me at the time for women's ministry, not knowing all of that was God was building up in me for me to be able to speak to somebody else. I can't tell somebody something that I haven't experienced or take you somewhere where I haven't gone myself. So the communication, I decided I was finally going to seek the Lord and ask him, what did he have in mind for my relationship? What did that look like? Why am I in this relationship? What is my part? What is my objective? Why did you bring him to me and me to him? There's a purpose other than me sitting up here pouting because it's not what I thought I signed up for. And I went on a 21-day fast. And I finally just asked the Lord. Prayer is communication. It's talking to your Father. It's a relationship. Right. I said, God, what is it? What is my role? What will you have me to do? 2 days in, I get a phone call from a young lady, and she said, you have been on my mind. She said, I need to take you to lunch. And we went out to lunch, and she said, I see you. The Lord has really shown me you're really struggling with what your husband is doing. And he's telling me to tell you that he's doing what I've called him to do. And if you don't get on board, somebody's going to take your husband from you. Your husband's a good-looking man. She said, you need to get on board with what God is calling you and your family to do. And you can't be concerned about what everybody else is saying or should say or saying or what you should or should not do concerning your relationship. So it didn't take me long to make up my mind that I wanted my relationship. I wanted my marriage. I wanted our family. I wanted the kids to have their parents together. So I decided that I was going to do what God was calling me to do. And I never, ever stopped all this time that I was so busy pouting and so busy upset, so busy going back and forth about what I thought it should be. I never stopped and communicated and asked God, what does that look like for me? And as soon as I made that change and that shift, things just started changing and shifting, and our relationship just soared, and things just started falling into order because I was out of order. God would not bless his competition.
That is powerful.
Talk about communication from a perspective we hadn't considered.
You're exactly
right. We've been talking
right.
about communication, but I mean, for those of us that are believers, communication.
It starts here first.
It's
so
vertical.
awesome.
So when God spoke to my heart and told me to do that, it's just something the weight just lifted off of me. The fog began to lift, and I began to see my purpose. And I knew there were other musicians' wives that were probably struggling with the call on their husband's life because it's a very unique call. It's a very different call. It's something that you have to have a lot of patience with. Because it's the unconditional, it's unconventional, it's not the same norm, it's not the expectation. It's the sporadic income.
Right.
After every gig, musicians are unemployed for the most part. They're waiting for the next gig unless they're playing with a chart-topping artist, which my husband did at the time. But that opened up more doors and more doors and more doors. And the other day I was praying, and I was thanking God for something that happened in our relationship 21 years ago. And what happened was my husband decided to take a leap of faith from that job and to play music full time. And it was the best decision that he could have made for our family at that time because it totally changed the trajectory of our life and our love and our relationship. It's almost to the point where I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you had he not taken that leap of faith. Had he not stepped out and did what God called him to do. Had he not went and negated what I was saying and knew that there was a higher purpose that God had already communicated to him. Right. He was bringing me alongside to walk along with him.
That's powerful.
Well, and I'll have to say, from my perspective, thank you for following that calling and allowing him to follow his, because he was a very talented individual. And he left this world with some beautiful music for us to cherish even today.
That's exactly right.
Yes, and having, for those who don't know the story, my husband passed away 5 years ago. You guys know that.
Yes.
And when I married my husband at 20, I was 20, he was 22. He had already lived half his life. Right. And I didn't know it.
That's powerful.
He had already lived half his life. in the last 5 years, I had a chance to kind of look back and see all the things that we fought about that didn't matter. All of the things that I wanted to be right about, or even the things he wanted to be right about that didn't even matter. What difference does it make in light of eternity? What difference does it make in light of right now not having that? You know, 90% of the things that couples argue over, the communication issues, is an opinion, not a fact.
Wow.
It's your
That's
opinion.
powerful.
It's your opinion about the situation. We can sit here and argue all day about what color green or what color blue this is. What difference does it make? And a lot of things you're fighting over and arguing over in 5 years, what difference is that going to matter?
What I want to say to you as well, sitting here with us today, what we realize is the years that you were married to Marvin and the producing of the book, the producing of even your next book, your life has been a roadmap. Your life with Marvin today is a blessing to all of us as women.
Right.
Because out of that marriage with Marvin, you are now blessing the magnitude of women, one woman at a time, Kim. And we're grateful for what you have done and what you are doing and continuing to do. His legacy lives on through you, and we just thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So,
Now, it seems that we have so much to cover, and as you can tell, we are excited to have Kim here today. I know you want to hear more. Be sure to stay with us. We'll be back after a very short break.
if you would like to be a guest or advertise your business on Couch Time with Sonja, I would love to hear from you. Email me. Visit couchtimewithsonya.com. And then there was life. Born to color outside the lines. Born for such a time as this. You showed up on the planet to produce a dream. You, yes you, were born with purpose, with words. Friends, imagine that your dreams can become your reality by the words you speak. It all starts today. It starts with you. Creation, formation, transformation, all begin with change. The battle is in your mind, but your voice is your weapon. Speak life, believe, prosperity, creative, daring. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Your future is unwritten. Let's begin writing today. Your words create your world. Welcome back. We hope you've enjoyed your break. We're going to continue our conversation with Miss Kim McQuitty in reference to communication. You have two girls. You have Marielle and you have Simone. And I know that that's a whole nother dynamic, right?
For sure.
We know that's a whole nother dynamic of communication. So how do you handle communication with two girls in two different states with two different personalities?
Yes.
So we'd love to hear how you
Yes.
handle that.
My daughters are 25 and 23, and they are truly a blessing. They are, people think we're sisters.
Yes,
Because
I
think
can
because
definitely see
look,
that.
We look so much alike, and then the age that God has gracefully helped me to age gracefully. But the communication has always been important to me with them because I wanted to be the one that they come to for the tough questions in life. I wanted them to get the perspective from what the Word says. I wanted them to get the whole perspective. I want them to get the truth. I didn't want them to have to be searching for information and try to make it up as they go. So it's been very important to me to be open with them in communication. And you mentioned that we are living in different states. I have one in Chicago, one in Texas, and I'm in Atlanta. So what I've been doing since I've been gone, we get on the phone and we have a conference call. And we talk about things, and we talk about what's going on with our lives and things like that. And I have always been open and honest with my girls, and I want them to be open and honest with me. If there's something that I'm doing or saying that's inhibiting some communication issues, let me know. Let me know, because you're not helping me by withholding information from me about something I can do to be better in our relationship. And I remember that particular phone call. I knew there was like some kind of I felt like there was maybe some little tension between the two of them. I mean, you know, you get millennials, it's just, they're different personalities, as you said. They have different, you know, ways as they communicate and like to be communicated to. So I got on the phone with them and we were talking about some things, and I thought I was being the mediator to clear some things up between them. Well, they had some things that they wanted to share that had been bothering them about me. And as I sat there and I listened, and I'm like, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I saw myself doing that, creating stress on their end. And their thing is, we're not living in the same space right now. So if we know you're having a problem and we know you're dealing with some things, it's stressful for us to take on what's stressing you. So I've had to learn to relinquish that and realize that I'm not in control, that God is. We are all in the places that God has divinely orchestrated for us to be in this season. And He's prepared for that. So to an extent, yes, I have some say-so, they have some say-so, but at the end of the day, God is the one who's orchestrating our steps, and I have to trust that where they are, what they're doing, and they always tell me, "Ma, trust what you've been deposited into us."
That is good advice.
Trust that we're making the right decisions, you know. Trust that what you said was true, and it's there. We're going to do it. We're going to hear your voice, and we're going to get to a decision, and we're going to make the right decision because of what you've imparted into us. So my girls are my daughters, but they're becoming my friends.
Yes.
I'm not in the mothering stage anymore of life. I'm in the mentoring stage. And I always say, either I showed you or I've told you. As a mother, I've showed you or I've told you. So I'm proud of them. They are godly women. They are God-conscious women.
Yes, they are.
Who love the Lord and wants to do what God has called them to do. And it all started with having that open line of communication, letting them know, okay, you may say some things that may hurt my feelings, but it's the truth that's going to set me free. Because I want that relationship with you where I'm the first one you think about. Okay, let me talk to Mom. Let me see what she says. And if she doesn't know, she's going to point me in the direction of someone who has the right answer. And I've given them that liberty as well. I say, you know what? If there's something that's going on with you that you feel like I can't speak into, I give you a list of people that I feel trusted. That you go ahead and talk to them. They don't even need to know what's going on with me, with you. You know, they don't have to tell me. You're grown. You know, I want you to be able to feel the liberty to go on and talk to those people about that. And it has worked for us. It has worked. It's a work in progress because, you know, they're young and, you know, sometimes you text and you don't get a text back until a few hours later, like, okay, you're sitting there waiting on it to come up and they're on living their lives, but I have to trust the God on the inside of them that they're going to make the right choices when they need to.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
It is so beautiful. And, you know, what a difference it is now that your children are grown, because I have adult children as well. What a different season. It's a beautiful season, but so different than when they were at home and babies.
Yes, yes. And the years are short, but the days are long. And I'm realizing that more and more. And I tell my youngest daughter, I say, I'm going to whoop you. She's like, what, because I'm grown? I said, because you're grown. You know, you just miss that time with them when they're smaller. And then, but thank God that I took the time to invest in them. And I mentioned, we've talked about this, about my husband being gone all the time. I'm thinking, it was just us. You know, it was the three of us for so long, and it's, you know, the three of us even now so. But I can see that the time that I've had with them, that they were paying attention to the things that, you know, they were all ears, they were all in, and you don't know exactly how much you're being an impact until they're in their adult years, until they're millennials, until they're living on their own, until they're having the budget, until they, you know, and I'm thinking, God, I thank you for giving it to me, to putting it to me. Some things are caught, and some things are taught. They caught a lot of things. They're going to be taught some things. You know, they're going to learn a lot from me. They've learned a lot from me. And I remember my dad saying, your kids are going to learn more from you, more from others than they will from you in some seasons of their life. And I've learned that, you know. And they even helped me process some things from a younger mindset. You know, the way that they see things, the way that they see life, and the way that they kind of help me understand that millennial age, because I don't understand a lot of the things they do and why they say what they say and do what they do. But they've helped me to share some perspective, because my thinking can be so tunnel vision sometimes. And that has been great, because I can take that and use it for my benefit to the millennials that I'm reaching, the millennials that I'm counseling, the millennials that I'm talking to. I'm thinking, my daughter told me this, that, or the other. So this is why they do this. And it just works. And it's just, communication is vital, necessity, and you have to be working on it at all times.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I'll definitely say that this is what an old saying that one of our pastors said: honor up, honor down, honor all around.
Right.
It's represented in your family, because not only do your kids, your daughters honor you as mom, you honor them as the daughters that they are, because you're learning both ways.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's absolutely beautiful. We thank you for that.
Yes,
we
awesome.
thank you for sharing
I
that.
love all this knowledge. I mean, you have so much knowledge, and we have so much to glean from that. But we're not done. We get to jump into the next part. An exciting time. I believe you have a new book coming out this summer.
I do.
And we want to know the title, when it's expected to come out, and give us some insight on it.
The name of the book is called Unsave the Date. Are you wife ready? Are you really ready?
Where was that book?
Yeah,
Before I got ready to say I do, right?
Yeah. Are you ready for the work of marriage? You know, the romance comes easy, but you got to work for the business part. I mean, it's a lot of work, and I don't think women really understand that you're signing up to go to work when you sign up, when you say I do.
That's good, right?
You know,
there.
the euphoria of love, you know, get a good 2 years, you know, statistics say 2 years before you're feeling the love of feeling like you're in love goes away. We call it the drug. You know, you can be intoxicated, you know. And one thing about a girl and a guy who's engaged or wants to get married, you can't talk them out of getting married. And when it's time to get divorced, you can't talk them out of getting divorced. Their minds are made up either way. So we talk about Unsave the Date, what it looks like. You know, there's so many books talking about marriage and life and relationships, but what about the pre-side? There's everything about getting ready for the wedding day. Who's helping women become wife ready? Who's helping women become a wife? And that's a part of women's ministry that I've been doing for over 25 years. It's just been birthed in me. That's another arm of what God has assigned me to do. I've loved marriage. I used to dream in my bed when I was 12 years old what life would look like being married and having kids running around the house, not knowing that was purpose. Not knowing how I was going to even walk out that purpose being uncoupled 5 years ago. But God has a way of just birthing things in us in certain seasons that he doesn't waste anything.
Yes.
And I talk a lot about my experiences as a wife, and I talk about what it looks like to be a wife, and and that marriage is a necessity. Pump the brakes, slow down, get healed, work on yourself,
right,
and then let God bring the man that godly man has to you. It's we talk about a lot. I'm a straight shooter, you know.
Oh yes.
I don't pull
so.
punches. And what good would it do if I sugarcoat anything?
Right.
I had a statement in there, and one of my friends read it, and I kind of want to get her perspective, and she texted me the line that I said in the book. She said, "This is funny. You said marriage is the best thing next to heaven or the worst thing next to hell."
Wow.
And it can be.
Wow.
Because the enemy hates marriages. He hates relationships. He has a plan for your marriage. God has a plan for your marriage.
That's exactly right. If couples would understand that right there, is that the enemy does not want you to be married.
No.
He hates marriage.
Hates it.
Because that's unity. That's covenant.
Yes.
Covenant with God.
Yes.
So of course he's going to come
It's
against
the greatest
it.
example of the being in the body of Christ, the love that God has for us is a marriage relationship. And if the parents are jacked up, the kids going to be jacked up. You're going to school, sending kids to school, they're going to be jacked up. It's a generational pattern.
Yes.
If the enemy can destroy the head,
Yes.
if he can destroy the family, if he can destroy the relationship between a husband and a wife. So it's impactful when we talk about all of that, getting healed, what does it look like? You know, premarital counseling, you need to do that. And I mean, so many things in the book we talk about, and it's just straight from my heart to theirs. It's the one thing that I wish everyone would know before they get married.
Awesome.
Wow. So much.
We just want you not to go far because we're not finished. We're going to go deeper talking with her. And you know, she said she's a straight shooter. She really is. So we're about to see her straight shoot in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Connect with fellow millennials, creatives, professionals, and entrepreneurs within the all-new millennial community. Join in and get connected with local events, volunteer opportunities, and mentorship programs with the next generation. For more information, visit themillennialcommunity.com and become a member today. Membership includes access to special events, networking events, and civic engagement opportunities. Check out our online calendar for upcoming event opportunities, such as Millennial Think Tanks, community building events, the new Sea Live experience, and much more. Members will also be invited to join an online membership group, have opportunities to pair with local students in the Houston community for mentorship programs. Follow us on all social media platforms and get connected with the millennial community today.
Welcome back to Couch Time with Sonja. We are going to continue with our special guest, Kim McQuitty. Kim, please share more information and tell us about the number one question you typically receive.
Delia, the number one question, the hot question that I always get is, how do I know that I have the right guy? How can I find the right guy? What does that look like? What does that look like, getting the right guy? Because most girls, all girls, I don't know anyone who signs up for marriage expecting it to fail.
Come on, you're so right.
I don't know anyone who spends all this time and investment into marriage prep and wedding prep for it to fail. And unfortunately, many of them do. But the number one question about what does that look like is, first, the work starts with you. It starts with the individual. You have to be whole. If you're not whole going into a relationship, and a new relationship, the new guy's going to pay for what the old one, the last one did to you.
That is that right there. Pin, did you write that down? If you didn't write that down, say that again, Kim.
If you don't go into your next relationship whole, the new man's going to pay for what the last man did to you.
Wow.
And a lot of times, most times, it's unconsciously. You don't know that you're hurting that person, because hurt people hurt people. It's coming from a place of pain. And I use this analogy in my counseling sessions when I talk to couples, that the brokenness, whenever something's broken, there's a shard. There's a hard edge. There's a sharp edge. And anytime you bump up against that edge, you prick it and it hurts and you bleed. Same thing with emotional pain, or things you can say something that'll trigger something that this last guy did to you, had nothing to do with this brand new guy who loves you as you are, and it'll trigger something, and that thing will come up, and he's paying for something that he didn't even know what he's paying for. But the question, going back to the question of how do you know you have the right guy, it starts with you, knowing who you are. Knowing who you are, identity is everything. The woman is the one who's the prize, and she's the one who's the upgrade. You got to know your worth.
I love that.
Wait. Drop the mic.
Yes.
You're the prize. You are the upgrade. You are the favor that connects the man to God. The Bible said, he that findeth a wife, not he findeth a girlfriend, he that findeth someone who wants to be married, he that findeth someone who has an idealism of marriage. A wife is someone who has a mindset of a wife. You're a wife before he finds you, for the most part. You don't become a wife if you say, I do. A wife is not just a title, it's a responsibility. It is a responsibility. And being married is a condition of the heart. And what I mean by that is, you can be married and still be single-minded.
Oh, wow.
You can still have single.
I mean, I know
Yes.
some
You can
of
be
those
still be
people.
single-minded.
Mm-hmm.
It's
We know
all
people
about.
like
It's
that.
no longer about me. It's about we.
Right.
You have to become others conscious, and finding the right one starts with being the right one. You attract who you are. If you want to be a certain way, you need to work on those things in you first.
Right.
Brokenness attracts brokenness. For the most part, you're not going to find a man who's broken going after a woman, with a lot of confidence. He's intimidated by that.
That's exactly
Ooh, yes.
right.
He's intimidated by who she is. So there's only a certain caliber of men are going to be attracted to you when you're whole.
That's good right there.
Only
Look,
certain ones.
Catch that. Yes.
Only a certain caliber of man's going to be attracted to you. So that kind of cuts off the candidates right there. You don't have to do a lot of fishing in the process, because for the most part right now, have walked the walk that I've walked, the journey that I am on, and thank God, praise God for his faithfulness. I'm 50 years old. I've learned a lot in life, that I can sit down with a man right now in my single state, having been married for 24 years. This year would have been 30 years of marriage for me. Wow. I can sit down with a man and talk to him, and in 5 to 10 minutes, I know if I have a future with him, because I know who I am.
Yes.
I know what God has called me to do. I know my identity. I know what my purpose is, and does it fit into the continuity of who you are as an individual? What does that look like? It's more to just us not being single anymore. There's a joint purpose and a call that God has on a marriage.
So that shows what you said earlier. You marry with purpose in mind.
With purpose in mind. And you need to know what that purpose is before you said I do. Because if that purpose surfaced like it did for me in my first marriage over time, well, I felt some kind of way about you traveling the world, where there's girls who think that's the greatest thing since sliced bread, that their husbands have this platform and everyone's, loving his gift. I didn't. I'm a homebody. I want to be home on Saturday night. I don't want to be sitting in the venue 14 hours a day, sitting in the seats waving and cheering them on. That wasn't me. Purpose needs to be discovered before you get married, so you know if you fit into the context of who that person is. Another way to find out if you have the right one is you need to have a list of must-haves and can't-stands. I'd say 10.
That's good.
Deal breakers. Dating is a time to establish trust. It's an intentional time of getting to know one another. You're pretty much interviewing somebody who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. It's the second biggest decision any woman, any man will ever make on the planet, with Jesus Christ being the first.
So just for the audience again, you said make a list of
can't stand, things it's a deal breaker. There's no way in the world I can deal with that. It can be from integrity. It can be from character. You may have a problem with somebody who's always being late. I can't stand that. Must-haves. He has to be a man after God's own heart. He has to be able to wash you with the word. He has to love children. He has to want children. He has to have a great work ethic. He needs to have goals. I don't want we get to the altar and you go somewhere and sit down. No, where are we going to be at in 5 to 10 years? What's the vision for our life? What's the vision? Yeah, what's the vision for our marriage? I mean, this is forever. Right. What does that look like over time? What you need now, you're not going to need in 5 years. Let's sit down and have a revision retreat about our marriage and our relationship. So what are your can't stands and your must-haves? And when you're dating someone, you're kind of segueing the conversation around those things that you know in your heart that you can't stand or you must have. Right. You can eliminate all these characters right off the bat without having to go past the time of spending a whole lot of time getting all emotionally involved in it. Right. And what I do know about finding the right one, being the right one, and attracting the right one, that the counterfeit usually comes before the real. Ooh. The enemy knows what you want.
Yes. Yes.
He heard the counterfeit.
We need to drop 12 mics so far,
The counterfeit comes before the real. And almost an exact replica. The enemy has no new tricks. He's using the same weapon he used to take us down back in the Garden of Eden, which is deception. And the counterfeit is to be discerned, not dated.
Oh, that's good right
You don't
there.
have to date them and go on and spend all this time investing your life and emotions into somebody just to know that they're the wrong one. When you know who you are, you attract what you need.
See, that's powerful. So that means that usually the person is it lust that they've been attracted to, or they just automatically latch on and think that's the one?
Yeah, or you spend so much time, like the first guy that came before my husband came, the counterfeit, I had spent 2 years not dating anyone. I'm thinking, God forbid that this isn't the one. He's tall. He wants to do ministry like I want to do. He grew up in the church. He had everything that I wanted in a husband except the commitment. And I'm thinking, there's no way he can't be the right. He has to be the right one. We just need to work on some things. Let's give him some time. He's just not to get himself together. All the red flags, I put on blinders.
Wow.
Because
so
I had waited.
Right
there. I put on blinders. Because I waited for so long, I'm thinking there's no way in the world he can't be the right one. But what I do know is when that time comes for you to enter into that relationship that God has for you. Now, I don't believe there's only one man on the planet for every girl. Not one man in all mankind. There is not only just one. There's one that's more suitable.
That's good, Kim.
And that's what the Bible says about suitable for you because of the purpose that God has for your life as a couple. Well, I'm thinking there's no way in the world that this guy can't be the one for me, but he wasn't. He was not the one that God had for me. And I spent so much time in a relationship with him, and I got hurt. It was my fault. I had on blinders. I'm thinking I can pray him straight. I can pray him right.
Isn't that how some women?
Yes.
We all think, oh, we can help them become better. We can fix them.
No, what you see will always be, and even more so in marriage.
Yes.
It's going from 1 to 100. Now, there's going to be issues in relationships. Everybody's going to marry an issue. You have to understand if that's going to be the issue you're willing to live your life with moving forward.
That's good.
Issues, now I'm not talking about immoral things. I'm not talking about crazy things, abuse or things like that. An issue of being late. If you're throwing your socks on the floor, or just being a slob and a pig, and you living with someone who's less than tidy than you are, that's an issue.
Yes, that's
an issue for me.
That's a major issue.
It's an issue. Do I want to marry someone who always have to pick up after like they're 2 years old?
Right.
Men can act like children at times. They don't want to be communicated to, but they can.
Right.
But inside every man is a punk and a prince, a king and a kid, and the one you speak to is the one he will be.
That is
Another
so
mic
good.
drop.
That's who he will be. You know,
That
and
is
those
so
are the
good.
things you have to do in order to get yourself together. It's a lot on the side of I do. I understand it takes time to plan a wedding. I get it. I had a wedding. I believe everyone should have a wedding. But it doesn't take a wedding to be married.
Right.
In the state of Texas, you can get a license for $12 if you do 8 hours of counseling. You can get married for $12 and a license and a minister. They can have you come and do the wedding.
Right.
It doesn't take much.
Right.
We do the wedding because that's what we want.
Right.
But it doesn't take that. But you got to spend more time on you as an individual in order to attract the person that you want. Allowing God to show you those iniquities that's in your generational pattern and that you've just acquired from your family. All those quirks that your personality has malformed around that you don't even know about.
Right.
You know, those things that you bring into the relationship, everyone brings their experiences and their expectations to a relationship. You have your own bag and he has his own bag, and you're coming in, and over time you're unpacking that bag. You're unpacking how you communicate. He's unpacking how he communicates. You're unpacking how you do conflict. And none of those and everything in the suitcase is totally different.
That is so
So
good.
much
It's totally different. So
So
working
much
on you.
information, yes. So much information for you. You know, Kim has more. She has a special thing to share with you that is for you ladies that are maybe newlyweds, maybe looking to be married or are in the engagement process. Kim, tell them about that.
What I do is what you call a wife-ready boot camp. Boot camps hurt.
They do.
They do. I've been involved in one. We were up at 5 o'clock at the butt crack of dawn, and I was like, why am I inflicting this pain on myself this early in the morning? But the results you get from a boot camp are life-changing.
Come on. Yes.
Wife Ready Boot Camp is an intensive workshop for, like you said, those who desire to be married, those who are single, those who are newlywed, and even the divorced woman who wants to know what went wrong in their first marriage.
Yes.
It's a boot camp. It's an intensive workshop where now I'm sitting in a circle with 12 girls. And I want to help you become wife ready. I want to help you overcome some challenges. I want to help you see what that looks like in order to prepare yourself for the man that God has for you. How do you become the queen for the king that God is preparing for you? So Wife Ready Boot Camp is an intensive seminar. I do it in a small group setting on my own, or I go out to churches who will invite me to come out and do it for their women's ministry. Wife Ready Boot Camp, we'll have speakers, we have question and answers, because I realize girls don't really know what to ask about marriage.
Right.
They don't know what to expect. So they're looking for the ones who've been married, who have life experience as a wife.
Right.
You know, what am I signing up for? What does that actually look like? They may have come from a generation of divorce, and they decided the buck stops here with me. How do I move past everything that everyone has done in my family to shatter that, that divorce line in my bloodline? So Wife Ready Boot Camp just goes there, and we have raw, relevant, real information where we tell you about marriage.
Well, I know you're raw.
Yes.
And transparent.
And transparent.
Yes,
And
but that's what
transparent.
helps.
That's what helps. Yes.
Because if we had that prior to getting married, there's so many things we might not have walked through because we had the information ahead of time.
Yes, I feel like Unsave the Date, Are You Wife Ready is the Cliff Notes.
Oh, that's so good.
It's the Cliff
Kim.
Notes. You read this. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect. No one's going to be perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's about being wise. You can be better prepared than you are today when it's time for you to be married. But it's the Cliff Notes about what you need to do, what you can do, where you are, some things you think about. Again, I mentioned earlier that I had a friend of mine kind of read and give me some feedback. She's been married 32 years. And she said, you said something in that book that I identified in my marriage that I couldn't put my finger on for the last 30 years.
Wow. Wow. That shows you're continuing to grow. Even years after,
Yeah.
you continue to
continue
learn and grow.
and that's the key. That is the key to being wife ready, is to invest in yourself.
So awesome. If you are looking for or would like for Miss Kim McQuitty, the author, I call her the wife coach, to come to your church, come to your organization and speak, you can go to wifeready.org. And of course, if you didn't catch it, it is on the screen. And you can find out how you can book Miss Kim McQuitty to come speak to your people, your ladies, your organization, because I tell you it's valuable information. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Teresa Diaz, and today I have the opportunity to share with you a letter that I wrote about my testimony. I'm 37 years old, and when I was 17, I was diagnosed with leukemia. It has been one of the most difficult experiences in my life, but at the same time, it has been one of the most gratifying experiences. one that I carry in my heart as a treasure, as a reminder of who is fighting for me, and as a reminder of who is writing the story of my life, the best author, even when sometimes I don't understand the chapters. For me, it's a story full of miracles, full of God's provision, full of God's presence, even on the darkest days. I am from Torreon, a city in the north of Mexico. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother, and at that time, my parents and I had to move to Mexico City so I could get the proper treatment. Since the beginning, the doctors were very clear with us, and they told me that my only chance to live was through a bone marrow transplant, and that without the transplant, my expectation of life was only about 5 years. We didn't know much about the process or what we were about to face, but we started the journey. The first challenge that I had to face, it was to find a bone marrow donor that was compatible with me. The doctors explained us that the minimum compatibility that I needed was 65%, and thank God one of my sisters was 98 compatible with me. Then I started the chemotherapy treatment. I had to take 30 pills in a glass of chocolate every 6 hours for 4 days. So every day I took 120 pills for a total of 480 pills of chemotherapy. I went through the most aggressive chemotherapy process in order to kill my bone marrow. My first and second day of chemo, I was okay, but for the third day, I was totally weak. I couldn't even open my eyes, and much less eat. The nausea were terrible, and then I started bleeding, and I continued bleeding for about a month. But with the help of God, I could continue with the treatment and complete the doses of chemo. I was in intensive care for about 26 days, and 15 days after the transplant, the happy day arrived with the news of that the transplant had been 100% successful. Even with the news of the successful of the transplant, my physical situation didn't change at all. I continued taking tons of medicine that made me feel terrible. I was weak, I was not able to eat, and I was not able to walk. I stayed in a wheelchair for about 4 months. I had sores in my legs and in my arms, and also in my throat. So I stayed at the hospital for 1 more month in that moment. My recovery process started from zero, from relearning how to eat or how to walk again, but more important, from relearning how to live again. First of all, I learned to appreciate life as a miracle and to be grateful no matter what I am facing. At the end, there is always so many reasons to be thankful. I learned to love and enjoy my present. I learned to identify the miracles that happen every day around us, but with the rush of the life we don't pay attention to. I learned that even the worst situation has a positive side, and I learned always focus on the positive side. I learned that it is up to me to be bitter or better in the middle of the desert, and that you can find joy in the middle of the desert. I learned that to be happy you don't need much, and I learned to be happy all the time. God became my only source of faith and strength, and I learned that He is always more than enough. Through this letter, I would like to encourage you to always value your body, to value your health as a beautiful treasure that it is, as a perfect masterpiece that it is, and to encourage you to really take care of yourself through healthy habits that will make a difference in your life by eating healthy, doing exercise, but with the most important, that it is to feed your soul and spirit with the word of God, that help us to cling to refresh and to detox our soul.
We're back, and we are happy to continue with our guest, Kim McQuitty. Kim, you have left our audience with so much good information today, but we always ask that our special guests leave them with a nugget. What would you like to say to them?
Well, what I like to say, I want to categorize this in sections. The single woman, to the divorced woman, to the engaged woman. First of all, to the single woman. Those of you who are waiting, who are believing for God to bring you the man that he has for you. I understand that the wait can get arduous. I know that it can be painstakingly long. And you're in some of you may be in seasons that you never thought you would be in, just waiting and patiently waiting and wanting who God has for you. My heartbeat for you is to encourage you to don't compromise. Whatever you do, don't compromise what you know you are worth, what you know you can have, what you know you've been standing and believing God for all of this time. You are the prize. I said that earlier today. You are the upgrade. You are the one that connects the favor of man to God. And I want to encourage you to just be who you are. Live your life as you're living it now. Don't passively just be waiting for a husband. Be living the way that you want to do. Go to Hawaii with your girlfriends. Go on that cruise. Don't just wait until you get married to do what you want to do. That man is there where God is preparing you. He's somewhere preparing him. And at the right time, God will bring you guys together. Don't put your life on hold waiting to get married. Being single is not just a waiting season for being married. You should be enjoying your life as you live it today. Plan it, move forward, get that education, get that degree, but most of all, live your life on purpose. At the right time. You don't want them before time. You don't want it before it's time. You at the right time, God will bring the one. He will bring the one. You're not going to have to go looking for him. You're not going to have to sell yourself short. God will bring the man to you if he has to bring him to your doorstep and ring the doorbell and know your name. That's how much God is concerned about everything that concerns you. Do not compromise. Do not waver. Do not fall for the hokey doke. Don't just marry breath and breeches. There's a godly man that can wash you with the word, a man that loves God first and loves God more. You want a man that loves God more than he loves you because God is his boss. He'll keep him in line when he's getting on your last nerve. But make sure you just wait for the one that God has for you. To the woman who is engaged, who is looking to be married, who has a ring and a date. And I say a ring and a date because being engaged is a step, not a status. You should not be walking around 2 and 3 years with a ring on your finger with no end date. There's a couple of reasons why that's the case, and I talk about that in my book. One could be fear. And the other one is identity, not know who you are. I mean, you're not trying to be a permanent girlfriend. Your end goal is to be a wife. But those of you that are engaged, my prayer for you and my thought for you would be as much time as you are pinning things on Pinterest, as many cake tasting places you've been to, as many honeymoon brochures you've been looking at, get a book. Get my book first, Unsaved to Date. Are You Wife Ready? Preparing Women for Marriage Beyond the Wedding Day. But get the books and start reading about marriage. Start gleaning from other marriages that you see that you aspire to have. Find a marriage mentor. Find a godly woman who can speak into your life, a Titus 2 woman who can show you how to be a wife and not a silly woman with the responsibilities of having a house and a home. You want to be a wife. Your husband wants a woman, a wife. He doesn't want somebody who's a dependent. He wants a partner. And I encourage you to, all the time you're spending, spend more time on planning for the marriage than you are for the wedding. Have the wedding of your dreams. Dance the night away. Do all you can because, as far as I'm concerned, this is it. You ain't getting no more marriages. You can have some recommitments and things like that, but this is it. You're signing up. This is it. Move forward in that, knowing that you have the one who God has called for you. And let me stop and say something about that. If for some reason you have a nudge, you have a tug, something I said, something someone else has said, maybe something I said was confirmation, let that confirmation be what it is. I don't care if you have sent out a save the date. Unsave it. Don't get married for the sake of pride. Don't get married for the sake of embarrassment if you feel like the one you have right now is not the right one. It's not worth it. It's not worth your future. Marriage is a wonderful relationship. I was blessed to be married for 24 years, and I am believing God that I'll be married again. It is a wonderful relationship. You're going to grow, you're going to be challenged, you're going to be changed, you're going to be stretched. You got to rework some things, redo some things, relearn some things. But it is a relationship that is set to music, and you want the right one. You want the tone to be right. But if for some reason you have this tug in your heart that things aren't the way you thought it would be, or you're feeling like something we said today was like, maybe I don't have the one that I'm supposed to have, don't override that. Don't go past that. Make sure that you know what you're signing up for is who God has for you. And if for some reason, the money is the money. Unfortunately, you may lose some of it, but if you need to call it off. And send out some unsaved dates and tell the people forget the date or whatever that looks like, because you want to do it right the first time around, especially if you're going into a blended family situation. 60% of marriages today are going to be blended family situations. And you have to get this thing right. The divorce rate for those are even higher than the first. And if it's a third marriage, God forbid, 73% of them don't make it. So if you're feeling this tug, or don't put on blinders if you're seeing red flags. Take the time. If you need to read the book before you go down the aisle, do that, or a book, or some book, or the best book, which is the Bible. Make sure you're making the right choice with the guy that you have. For the woman who is divorced, divorce is a traumatic separation. It's just like a death. It's a separation of the love of your life. And you may be divorced against your will. You may be divorced because you didn't want to be divorced. This man have ran off and done some things, and he decided he didn't want to move forward. And what I know about marriage is that when one party says the party is over, whether the other one wants to be married, still married or not. But if you're still trying to get yourself together from your relationship with your husband or your ex-husband, my encouragement to you is to, first of all, look inside yourself. See where things went wrong. What contribution you made to the demise of your marriage. Because you weren't married to yourself. There was two people, individuals in a marriage, and it takes two people to be married, and it takes two people to make it fail. I understand that I cannot, just from speaking to wives and over the years, that marriage and divorce is a very difficult thing to walk through. Divorce is a very difficult thing to walk through. But I would say just take some time to just get to know who you are. Get reconnected to God. Ask God to show you some areas in your life that may have caused the demise, or him acting the way that he did, or some of the things you said, or maybe you talk too much, or maybe there's different things that causes relationships to crumble. And some things that, a lot of times, maybe it wasn't your fault. Maybe you overrode a red flag. Maybe you overrode a check in your spirit, and you went down that aisle knowing that God said this was the one, but you were tired of waiting. You got tired of being by yourself. Maybe that's the case, or maybe not, whatever that looks like. But take some time before you re-enter the dating stage. Marriage is not a necessity. We can live and die not having been married in our lifetime. It really is not. If it's, like we said, it's purpose. It's all about purpose. But I would take some time before I reevaluate yourself, and before I re-enter another relationship, because you need to put some space in between that hurt, because you have to become whole. You have to work through the pain. You have to work through the process. And if there were kids involved, you need to do that as well. So to the woman who is a widow and you're waiting, you're just like me. God is faithful. And he can bring you another husband just like he brought you the first one, and God can make the rest of your life the best of your life. I want to encourage you and let you know that God is faithful. And if that's a desire for you, he will bring them to you at the right time. You're not going to have to go looking for them. You don't have to get on Tinder or farmersonly.com. God can bring them to your front door, your back door, the side door, or whatever it looks like, and he can bless you with a godly man that you can live with for the rest of your life.
I would definitely say she left several nuggets. I hope that you have taken the time to write those down so that you could review them over and over again. Wouldn't you say, Delia?
For sure. It was amazing.
Kim, we thank you so much for coming today. And I will definitely tell you, please make sure you support Kim McQuitty. Get her book. It's the things she's walked through in her life, and that she's willing to share them with you. Unsave the Date. Preparing
Women for Marriage Beyond the Wedding Day.
Beyond the Wedding Day. Coming this summer. Definitely keep checking. Remember, her website is wifeready.org. We have enjoyed this particular segment.
Yes, so much.
We have learned so much. And of course, what we always love is we love just having a girlfriend on set with us. And she is definitely our sister. So we want you to watch next week. There's special information we're going to be sharing with you. Delia and I both have a surprise for you. Don't miss it. We'll see you next week. God bless.